Nier Automata is the first game I've played that's fully capitalized on its existence as a video game in an interactive medium that so effectively combines its message with its gameplay that it's difficult to judge them separately. Yoko Taro takes you on a philosophical joyride and asks you to define your actions and the world around you for yourself. I love most of the way Yoko Taro told his story and appreciated the sincerity and brilliance in the variety of his philosophical foils. Nier Automata is a great game told well, regardless of if you agree with its statement. I say I liked most of the way he told his story because there's pockets of fourth wall breaking interactive storytelling brilliance, and moments of needless mystery and confusion. Yoko Taro has said publicly that he sees games and game designs as vehicles for conveying emotions to the player, and that those emotions are the important bit, not the game itself. I agree with the sentiment, but the application of that statement in Nier Automata means that the supporting lore of the world is sidestepped and glossed over, all for the sake of creating pockets of emotional punch. Throughout the game, you encounter various narrative beats meant to foil different philosophies and worldviews, and Yoko Taro seems to be in such a hurry to deconstruct the next philosophy and make you feel the next emotion that he seems to trip over himself to get there. Nier makes you feel things, but doesn't do a very good job at helping you understand why you're feeling them or know why they matter or if you should even be feeling them at all. The why of motives and narrative beats and character developments and the rules of the world and why things are happening on screen are often shrouded in mystery. And that's exactly the point. Yoko Taro prides himself in the vagueness of his lore and storytelling and subverts expectations almost constantly, utilizing narrative mystery to keep you hooked and guessing. Even the complaint of being confused, of feeling like, why is this happening? I don't get it, is argued by fans to be by design. Because it is. You slowly get a bigger picture of the world around you as you replay the game through different characters and different perspectives, which parallels the differences in worldviews and philosophies he shares and deconstructs throughout the game. Eventually though, at the end of the game, Yoko Taro shows his hand and presents the main worldview he wants you to consider. The main thrust of Nier Automata is this. Life is meaningless with no higher purpose, and humans are stuck in a repeating cycle of suffering. But the pursuit to ascribe meaning and discover our role within this cycle unites us all. As such, selflessness and empathy in light of this existential dread is the pinnacle and defining trait of humanity. In short, he promotes a worldview of existential nihilism with a bit of humanism thrown in, that some people would call optimistic nihilism. The big question Yoko Taro asks you is, despite this meaningless world that we define for ourselves and attempt to derive subjective meaning from, that then in turn defines and shapes us through lived experience, are we capable of acting selflessly and altruistically for our fellow man in light of these truths? Or to ask even more succinctly, are existential nihilism and humanism compatible worldviews? How far can we push optimistic nihilism? This all comes together in a moving tribute where, at the very end of the game, you encounter an extremely difficult section that is almost impossible to beat on your own. Each time you die, you see real messages from real players around the world who are struggling at the same point you currently are. As you continue to die and struggle, you get the option to receive reinforcements in the form of other ghosts of other players who then help you complete the final boss. What you learn after you finish is that each of those helpers that came to your aid were not only the ghosts of real players, but that those real players had to sacrifice their real save data in order to help you. You are then asked if you would delete all of your save data to allow your ghost to help the next player and continue to some altruistic factor. It was this one moment that was so moving for the majority of players, myself included, and it was this one moment where the game asked the same question that the players have been asking the whole time, only this time Yoko Taro stayed silent. Why? Why should you be altruistic and selfless and empathetic in light of this meaningless world, to a total stranger at the cost of deleting your save data and everything you worked up for until now? Optimistic nihilism asks, why not help them, instead of why help them? But that's just saying the same thing a different way. The choice remains to be made, and the justification remains to be given. So why should you help them? What reason will you give yourself? Are all reasons equally valid? Will you help them because you feel like it, or because it's the right thing to do? Why should you do the right thing? And who says that it's right? And perhaps more importantly, where does that feeling of ought to help them, of feeling like you should do something, where do those feelings of right and wrong come from? At the very end of the game, Yoko Taro puts the question of objective morality on the table and then walks away. Those are questions for another video, and are purely philosophical and not related to games or story, but maybe one day there'll be a game and a story that picks up where Yoko Taro left off.